I am Professor Mages. I'm working at Ghent University Global Campus.
My name is Philip Hendricks. I am professor at Ghent University Global Campus.
I have a major in immunology, so things that have to do with infectious diseases, vaccine development, diagnostic development, things like that. So I initially studied chemical engineering. That was a very long time ago. And when I got involved in research, I started off as a researcher in Belgium. And then as I progressed with my career, I moved on to first South Africa, where I spent a few years doing research. Then went back to Belgium, ended up in the US. So I did some research there and actually became a professor in the United States at the University of Massachusetts. And then returned to Belgium and finally got involved in this project here in South Korea.
But let me start from the beginning. I obtained my bachelor and my master, even before it was called bachelor and master. I am that old, at Ghent University in Belgium. After that, I obtained my PhD, also at Ghent University. I did some years of postdoc, and after that I came to Korea, and that's about 7 years ago. I'm here for almost 7 years, and I'm teaching quite some courses, ranging from organic chemistry, introduction to advanced chemistry, over process engineering, some calculations, theoretical approaches and engineering insight. I'm also involved in the courses green chemistry and biotechnology. I'm also teaching environmental chemistry, so almost all of the chemistry courses are passing my hand.
Actually, when I think about IGC, I have to go back to the first time I was here. I was actually invited as a guest in 2013. That was with the inauguration of the Ghent building. Actually, not even the building, but the initiative of Ghent University Global Campus. The reason why I remember that day is because it was one day after my birthday. So it was nice to be here just as an invited guest. But then I was really impressed with the initiative that was taken here in Songdo. And so although I was not at that moment a professor at Ghent University, I was a professor at the University of Brussels, I actually started to get involved in organizing this initiative. And then I kind of agreed to come later on. So I started to teach in 2015. And I've actually been here in Songdo ever since then, so since 2015, which means that I've seen a lot of students in the last 7 years.
Well, yes, indeed. I am very much impressed by the attitude of our students and the progress they make at university regarding mathematics and science as a whole. Okay, I believe these students have an excellent preliminary trajectory, and when they come to university, they can easily follow and they are preparing very well for their future career. And it's their task to digest, it's our task to provide the food to eat. And I think it's a good equilibrium over here at Ghent University.
What I really like about the students here at IGC is that it is a very international experience, an international group of students. Of course, it's clear that most students are South Korean, but we do have quite a few people from other corners of the world. And what I also find quite unique here is when I interact with students is that they are very open for communication with foreigners, something that is, I think, quite unique if I compare it with other academic campuses in Korea, where things are a little bit more closed. But here, yeah, it's quite easy to communicate with students, and it's, for me at least, it's a nice international environment. So I like the attitude of the students and the way they interact with foreign professors, and so for me this is a really nice teaching experience, but also living experience.
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, the first what comes to my mind is that our GOGC students are very hard working. When you see them, they are in class paying attention, or outside in one of the rooms where they can study and open the books to learn all the items that we teach them over here. It's or very early in the morning, but especially late in the evening or maybe at night. These students are sacrificing all their time to get the job done. And in most of the cases, overall, on top of that, I think they are very enthusiastic. As an example, I have the habit to have internship programs in summer and in winter. Also some of my colleagues are organizing that. And they, as I like to say, they don't have a look on their watch. They just work and they quit the job when the job is done. So they are so enthusiastic, so devoted. I'm really proud of them, and I really like being here as a professor at Ghent University Global Campus.
For me, GOGC is a quite unique context in the sense that we have a lot of research going on. So we have people specialized in food biotechnology, in environmental technology, in medical technology, in data science, but everything is driven by research. So we have a lot of scientists here in the building that do their daily research, and we try to adjust our teaching program based on what we get from this research. I think the students, when they have their lectures and then they combine it with their practical courses, they can really see why they are studying. Just to give you an example, in my case, I'm teaching immunology, so about diseases, vaccines, diagnostics, things like that. But of course, these days with COVID, we have a direct link. So I can very easily take a diagnostic test that I go and get in the pharmacy and then just open it up and show to the students how research directly leads to product development. The same we have with other courses that we are teaching here, like biochemistry or applied chemistry. So students really see the research directly connected to what people are doing in the field and why this leads to, or how this leads to product development and really products. I think also what is nice for GOGC students is if they just look out of the window, they see all the medical biotech companies around us. And so they really know that what they study is the theory behind what all these companies here in Songdo are doing. So I think the setting of the school is unique in the sense that it is really right in the middle of the industrial activity of the topic that they study.
Okay, excellent question. I believe at GOGC we not only have education and courses and teaching, but all of the professors over here are actively involved in their own research, executed over here in South Korea at IGC, in our buildings, in our labs, where we have now this shoot. And as a professor, we try to elaborate on that research and we try to mix it with our education as such that students also have a clear view, a clear answer on the question, why do we have to learn all of this? So that means, what is the practical point of view? Well, over here we try to address that. And to give an example, it's not only theory or classrooms outside of Corona times, of course, where we have Zoom, but when we have the occasion, we are blending in quite some hours practical sessions, hands-on sessions in our school, in our university, in the laboratories, and we have quite a few where students can practice their hands-on experience in practicals regarding biology, chemistry, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a big advantage.
When I look at the teaching, so I'm directly involved in a number of courses, but the two major courses that I'm teaching are biochemistry and immunology. If we look at biochemistry, so I take this more from a medical biotech point of view because of my own major. So there we look at really basic things of how our foods, vitamins, nutrition, how this enters our body and how this affects the chemistry inside our body. So it's a semester-long course, but we start with the very simple molecules that build up life, so the food, but also our own body. And then we try to understand what happens if you eat, what happens when you drink, how you can store energy, how you can build muscle, how you can store fat, all these kind of things. Basically, how a healthy body can work, and also a little bit what goes wrong in case of diseases. We all know about diabetes. Diabetes is actually a disease related to the metabolism of a person, so the food. And so we try to see the basics behind that and the science behind it. Then the second course that I teach is immunology. So there we start really with the building blocks of how does our human body defend itself against pathogens, so things that make us sick. Of course, we now know about viruses, but we also have bacteria and we have parasites. So we look at all the tools that our body has to fight against diseases. And then, of course, how we can teach our body to work better. That means how we develop vaccines, in case vaccines fail, how we can make immunological drugs, so things that can help our body to fight diseases.
Okay, my major in the past was chemical technology. Okay, but over here our major, and actually we have to say program, is environmental technology. I'm one of the environmental technology professors, and as such I am involved in quite some environmental related courses, such as green chemistry and biotechnology, or for example air treatment and technology. We live all in South Korea, and we know there can be cloudy days with a lot of misemonji, so we have to remove them. How to remove them? I am learning students how to do that in many ways.
I think IGC is a very good learning environment for Korean students, not only because it's a very good teaching environment by itself, but because we have the system of having an international teaching staff and the experience of going abroad during the studies to study also in Belgium. So you get a very international experience as a student. What is also important here, that we have a teaching mentality where indeed we encourage students to think. I always look at students as smart young people. It's not because I'm the professor that I'm more smart than the student. It just happens that I'm older and I know maybe a little bit more, but I always consider students as being smart, and so when they dare to think, when they dare to challenge me even with smart questions, it kind of becomes very interactive. And I think our way of teaching is not so much top-down. It's not the big professor who is forcing students to learn a particular topic. It's more a discussion and trying to transfer knowledge from my generation to the next, and then also me learning from students what they are interested in, and so trying to adapt the courses to the reality of today, to the environment of today. And I think that's a quite unique concept. We are very flexible in that sense. We continuously have to adapt because, in a sense, we are foreigners in a new country. For us, Korea is a new teaching experience, but I always see that as a positive thing. I can take my traditional way of teaching, but adapt it to a new environment. And I'm really convinced that it is a benefit for students, it's a benefit for teachers because of this interactive way of doing things. And so once again, I think the fact that we allow young students to think and to come up with solutions for problems and to do this in a very interactive way is something that is quite unique.
Most important message to a future student or a current high school student is that they themselves, they have to think about their future, because you have to do a job which I hope you like for 40 or 45 years. So if you like applied life sciences, or for example biotechnology, I think you at least must pay a visit to Ghent University, and as such you will learn, you will see that we have three very nice programs regarding environmental technology, food technology and biotechnology. And as such, after your education over here, I believe, together with all my colleagues, that you are well prepared to achieve your dreams in your later future. So if you think biotechnology and life sciences, that's something for me, just pay us a visit and we will serve you the best education ever.